I'm back after washing my hair. This is the first time I've washed my dreadlocks. I've had them for 8 days, as I said in my previous video. This is how they look like after their first wash. They are a little frizzy and a little bit more poofy than they were before, but even though there's a lot more loose hair all over the place, I actually kind of feel like they did tighten up a little bit. Like the core of them feels tighter, if that makes sense. As you can see, there's definitely a lot more like loose hair that I'm gonna have to work in. I think I am gonna crochet them a little bit, but kind of let them settle themselves and kind of form their own way instead of rushing into trying to tidy them up. I don't want to overwork them or over tighten them too much. But as far as like the actual like washing process goes, it was pretty simplistic. I did watch some videos to kind of help me out beforehand. It's definitely different keeping dreads out of your face as opposed to hair. Hair apparently moves a little bit easier when it's wet. These move a lot more when they're wet and they're heavier. But they didn't take as long to dry as I thought. I didn't get a blow dryer in time. Just kind of procrastinated that a little bit. Turns out it wasn't really that bad. Letting them air dry, it probably took maybe 3 or 4 hours after headbanging a lot and using lots of towels to dry them. I have been palm rolling them. I really do like the style of them. They've got that curl that my hair naturally has. So they look really cool at the ends, even though I am wearing like dark on dark, which is the standard for me anyway, so whatever. Since it's only been 8 days, I really don't have a whole lot to report. I kind of wanted to talk about why I decided to get the dreads. The reason I decided I wanted to get dreads really goes back to a long time before I ever even considered having dreadlocks. It might not make a lot of sense right now, but don't worry, I'll explain. When I was 13 years old, you know, I'm a young girl just blooming into adolescent, young adulthood, starting to do that thing that little girls do where they're like looking in the mirror more, and I'm starting to get self-conscious about things. And I can't report a lot about this particular day when I was 13 years old, other than I do remember really like criticizing my hairline. You know, it goes in and it goes out, and I got like these baby hairs that grow from my widow's peak. I hadn't trained them to go away from my face, so they like would curl in front of my face and kids would make fun of me. So I had started pulling out the hairs. Now, for some reason, when I say this to people, they don't really like grasp that. I would grab the hair from my head and pull it off of my head and just like toss the hair aside. I just wanted my hairline to be straight, you know. I would look at girls in magazines and they have these straight hairlines, and I just figured, well, this is how you get that, and pulled out all the hair. By the time I was done and kind of like, whether I was satisfied, I don't know. I don't think I was, but by the time I had realized what I had done, it was too late, and about almost 2 inches from ear to ear was pulled out of my head. Tripped my parents out. I ended up having to get bangs from it, which looked terrible, kind of made it look worse because there's so little hair on top of my head that they're all thin, and you could see how much balding there was. I remember having my birthday and there's pictures, and it was bad. I never really stopped. I kind of stopped pulling at my hairline because, well, you know, you got kind of made fun of for that, and it wigged the parents out, and there's obvious issues. So I really don't remember super well what was going through my head at the time, but I do remember wanting to pull out the hair. I would just go to different spots on my head, and I would realize after touching there for a while, I'm like, oh crap, there's like a bald spot there. Ooh, let's move to the other side. And I would move to the other side, and eventually I would just pull out my hair so much that it kind of just became involuntary, and it kind of became like a habit. It had nothing to do with my hands. In case y'all haven't noticed, while you've been watching this video, I fidget a lot with my hands. You know, I'm over here popping my knuckles as I talk with my hands. Fortunately, my cat is here, as she always is, and so I'll be petting with her a little bit. I am a very fidgety person, and a lot of that has to do with anxiety, you know, social anxiety, work anxiety, life anxiety. I'm anxious, what can I say? And I kind of fidget because of it. So I would just fidget with my hair. It became like this thing that I could do, and I would not only like pull out hairs on the back, but I would, you know, kind of fidget with the ends. I do remember thinking to myself, oh yeah, that's better because, you know, they don't notice that you've lost hair at the ends. And I would like make these knots and pull them out. And what's crazy about the knots is that actually started when I was in elementary school. I mean, I was like a little kid, maybe like 3rd or 4th grade, and I would make these crazy knots in my hair for no reason at all. I had a lot of hair back then, like it was long and there were no layers, and so there was just so much hair, and I would make these crazy knots, and then I would try to like unravel the knots, and usually just would be this ball of hair that was a knot, and I'd be like, ah, well, the knot's gone, and throw it away. And it didn't matter because I had so much hair you wouldn't notice. And after I had started really pulling out the hair, I like kind of reverted back to that, and I would just tell people, oh yeah, I get split ends, I'm pulling them off. Half true. A lot of the times I would pull out split ends, you know, it would happen. I dyed my hair a lot. It was my tick. It was my little nervous tick. It became involuntary. At some point it became something that I just did out of habit, out of routine. I wouldn't know that I was doing it was the problem that arose. I don't know if that was just because I kind of like didn't see it as a big deal when I was younger. Eventually I realized it kind of was a big deal, but it was too late. I had this tick. When I was about 17, I think, I had been smoking for like a couple years, and I decided to quit. Didn't stick, but I decided to quit. Got real bad. Got big fat bald spots on my head. I just had like chunks of short hair from me just pulling it out to the point where it like went from like here to like here. And so I tell my friends, I confess. I'm like, hey, I have this thing, I pull up my hair, it's because I quit smoking, and like, please help me. Like, if you see me playing with my hair, just get me to stop. If you're watching this and you have this problem and you're like, dang, I have that problem, or maybe you know someone, you're like, dang, like I see them playing with their hair all the time, and they're like pulling it out, and I see piles of hair all over their house, like maybe they have this thing too. I love my friends, and I'm so grateful that they helped me through this time, but oh my god, it got crazy. We're teenagers, we're young, we're angsty, and they are getting pissed at me, and I did not realize how much I was pulling out my hair and how bad it was. Every freaking 5 seconds it felt like they're yelling at me to quit pulling my hair. I will just be playing with it, and then all of a sudden, like, Sarah, I just told you to stop playing with your hair. They got violent on me, man. They like hit me and stuff. I'm like, dude, stop. They're like, you told me to do this. Oh my god, it was so bad. Eventually, you know, my really close friends who are still with me to this day, they got less violent. You know, we matured with age, and they would just kind of touch my hand and be like, stop. Oh man, it was really crazy realizing how bad it was, how often I pulled out my hair. I eventually found ways to cope. I had to. My friends were freaking assaulting me, slapping sense into me, literally trying to keep me from pulling out my hair. Did not work. Needless to say, it didn't work. It wasn't a solution. If anything, it probably stressed me out more because I'm like, oh my god, I need to stop pulling out my hair. What did help was there's these things called kneaded erasers. Oh, I should have grabbed mine, but it's a gray eraser. You wouldn't think looks like an eraser, especially if you're not an artist. They're actually meant for artists. You use it, it's like clay. It like comes apart and it's like clay, and it's sticky and it's like weird, and you can fiddle for hours with it. There's a little fidget spinners, which to me are not nearly interactive enough to satisfy my particular tick. One of my favorites is a marble. I will literally just like play with it, put it in between my fingers, and just fiddle with it for hours. This is a little bit more low-key. People might not even notice that I'm playing with it, and if they do, they're just like, oh, that's weird. If you do know someone, or you are someone who struggles with this, little things to kind of replace that motion with your hand is really helpful, but it never resolved the issue. In fact, when I would get really stressed out, there was no stopping me. This year, 2018, has been a year. A lot of changes in my life. To kind of go into that story in just slight depth here, I went through a really bad breakup at the beginning of the year. It gave me a lot of clarity. I really saw a lot of the flaws in my personality and in my character. A lot of the pain from what I had dealt with and was kind of recovering from led me to really pull out a lot of hair. I had been dealing with a lot of stress throughout the relationship and had pulled out big chunks of hair behind my ear and in other places. And even after we had broken up, I still was really dealing with a lot of the recovery from it and pulling out a lot of hair. A lot of the reason why I shaved this side of my head was because of pulling out my hair. There were other reasons, like I'm an artist and, you know, I look down at my art a lot and it's a lot easier to just tuck one side of your hair behind your ear. I've had this side shaved for about like 5 years, I think, maybe 6, I don't know, a long time. And that was a really big help to keep me from picking at the little baby hairs right here. But this year got really bad on the other side, to the point where, you know, my hairstylist kept having to shave the hair right here down so much that it was like way over here. And when we decided to shave the other side, there was like this big chunk right here that was from just the hair that I had pulled out, and there's all this new growth that came in from her constantly having to shave it down. But it just looked so bad, so bad. There was a bunch of hair missing that I didn't even realize was missing. Behind my ear, down to my neck, chunks even on like the other parts of my head. In fact, if you look at this dreadlock, you see how it's like super thick and then it like gets really thin, like right here. And there's like that big difference there in thickness. Obviously they had infused longer hairs into this dread, but all that short hair that's in there is new growth from a big bald spot I had right over here. So when did I decide to get the dreads? How did that happen? Well, like I said, I had wanted dreads since I was 14. Years and years ago, when I first started going to my hairstylist, I'd tell her I had wanted dreads when I was 14. Didn't know what I was doing, screwed that up monumentally, and she's like, get dreads, you obviously want them, your hair would dread great. And I'm like, no, my boyfriend hates it. She's like, alright, whatever, screw him, you should get them anyway. And I'm like, no. We break up, get a new boyfriend. She's like, get the dreads. I'm like, no, this boyfriend hates them too. I always had this excuse and that excuse, and I will admit I was a little nervous about getting dreads because of my weird tic, which she knew all about. She's probably the person I am the most open about it with, because she does my hair. She literally comes in and fixes the things that I would do to my hair. She is just fantastic. Trish at Salon 333 in Reno is just the greatest hairstylist ever. In fact, her daughter is the one who assisted her in dreading my hair. They were an amazing team. They did so well together. It was so great watching the mother and daughter dynamic as they were working on my hair. I'm even tattooing a sleeve on her daughter, so it was just really cool to have two people that I was so closely bonded with working on my hair. 6 months ago, when she had brought up the dreads to me again, I'm like, alright, I'll do some research. And not only did I do research on dreadlocks, I did research on other people who pull out their hair. I know that she has other clients who have the same impulse, and I've known throughout my life, you know, there was an episode on a show that talked about weird things that people do. I don't even remember what it was called. You know, they would do stories, and this chick pulled out her hair and ate it. And so every time I would bring up to people that I did like have this weird thing with pulling out my hair, did you eat it? I'm like, no, weirdo, I don't do that. Just because someone on TV did doesn't mean that I do. And when I did my research, I learned that there actually are a lot of people who do things like that. Even though I knew I wasn't the only one, I didn't realize how many people there were who did it, and what a community had been formed around it. There's even a name for it because it is considered a condition. You ready for this? It's quite the name. Trichotillomania is what they call it, and even though the name is a little ridiculous, I didn't come up with it, so that's what they call it. I've never really thought of calling it anything. My friends call it playing with my hair. That's what I call it, you know, I play with it, but it's more than that, you know. It is an impulse, it's a compulsion, it's a condition, as they say, even though I hate thinking of it like that, you know, because it implies that there's something wrong with you. I don't think there is. If you or someone you know struggles with this, then it is not a problem, a broken part of you. It's not a defect. It's just something that is you, and it doesn't have to be something negative that you frown upon or that your friends frown upon. It can be something that you can look at as just part of who you are and part of what makes you unique. And there are ways to help it. There are other videos out there that talk about ways to help deal with it. Upon this research on the dreads and the trick meaning trichotillomania, like for short, upon doing all this research, I had decided to research the two mesh together. There really wasn't a lot. I had found an article where a girl talked about getting dreads after struggling so much with trichotillomania, and this article brought me to tears. It just melted my heart. She talked about how she switched her tick, her habit, her impulse to play with her hair into the palm rolling and the maintenance that is required for dreadlocks, and how much it helped her. And it's making me emotional even right now. You know, when you go so long hating not only your hair for the things that you've done to it, but you start to kind of hate yourself a little bit for it. It was very emotional to have someone else talk about something that helped them so much. And from that moment on, I was sold. I was like, yep, I'm making this happen. I'm gonna do it. And I did so much research. I want to give a shout out to Lazy Dreads because that YouTube channel has helped me more than any. Everything that that guy says about dreads is so far proven to be true and has so far helped me so much. Because of his videos, I've been prepping my hair for 6 months prior to this, and I think in my next video I'm going to talk about what I did to prep my hair, because this video has kind of been really long. And I just want to say thank you to everyone for watching this and taking the time to really hear my story and hear me talk about not only my dreadlock journey, but my hair journey. It has been a journey prior to me deciding to get dreads, and even way before that. And I just really appreciate my friends for supporting me and encouraging me and helping me with my weird tick. It really is wonderful to look in the mirror and see a hairstyle that I love so much on other people, and to see it on me. I feel like this is how my hair was always supposed to be. I've felt like that since the minute I looked in the mirror and saw a head full of dreadlocks. Thank you to my hairstylist for giving me this gift that I love and cherish every single day. And thank you for watching my video. There will be more, so stay tuned. Thank you. Bye.